Welcome back to the second part of this vodcast on caffeine. I'm joined by Dr. Astrid Nelig. We've talked about the benefits of caffeine's stimulatory effects in terms of mental performance. What about possible physical benefits?
In exercise, the effects of caffeine are not so clear-cut. In short-term, high-intensity exercise, caffeine has inconclusive effects. With long-term endurance exercise, the European Food Safety Authority has established a causal relationship between caffeine intake and endurance capacity, endurance performance, and the rate of perceived exertion.
It's often suggested that the stimulatory effects of caffeine may have some less desirable effects in some people, for example, by disrupting their sleep patterns. Can you give me an idea about the effects of caffeine on sleep?
In fact, this is a difficult question. We all know people that can drink coffee at night and go to sleep, and other ones that have to stop at lunchtime or a bit later, otherwise they won't sleep. And this variability in response to caffeine is linked to a genetic variability we all have, and which is a genetic variability in the way we metabolize caffeine and also in the way our brain reacts to caffeine. In brief, some people specifically sensitive to caffeine may take longer to fall asleep, have their duration of total sleep and deep sleep reduced, and also experience more awakening. This effect is usually less marked in regular consumers, and caffeine abstinence can also improve these symptoms.
We've talked about the possible downside. What about some of the benefits of caffeine?
There are some true benefits of increasing alertness in some situations, like, for example, night shifts, in which it has been shown that the vigilance of workers is increased and there is less accidents. It's also beneficial in driving at night, or also with people suffering from jet lag.
Given the stimulatory effects of caffeine, is there any research on caffeine and addiction or dependence?
It is true that recently the American Psychiatry Society has included caffeine withdrawal into the symptoms that they recognize. It is known that some people may experience withdrawal symptoms after the abrupt cessation of caffeine. This occurs about 12 to 24 hours after cessation of caffeine and is translating into headache, drowsiness, feeling of fatigue, but won't last more than 48 hours. And this can be avoided by the progressive decrease of intake. Then the second item that needs to be considered is tolerance. And tolerance means that to get the same effects, you need to increase the amount you get. And this is clearly not the case for caffeine. If you take the example of caffeine in your coffee, you don't every week or every month increase your intake of coffee by a cup. And finally, there is dependence per se, because in the brain we have a specific circuit for addiction and reward that is activated by substance that lead to dependence. And caffeine is not activating this circuit. So caffeine does not correspond to what we call a drug of dependence.
Thank you, Astrid.